Alright, time for a life update, because I know you might not be watching my gaming live streams. In the mistaken idea that all I do is gaming, I actually do ramble a bit and get into a bit of gossip and updates about my life. So we'll do the life update here, mainly physical health, but we'll get to mental health towards the end, as long as I don't go on endless tangents. I know I've already rambled my intro away and lost some of you. With physical health. So earlier this year, I wore those cyber wigs and I got really bad headaches, and in one case I did throw up, other cases just had nausea, was able to get them off before I got into that kind of trouble. Since then, I've occasionally continued to have really bad headaches, been a bit of a mystery, eventually, you know, back and forth with my doctor, trying different ideas. In the end, conclusion is I'm probably getting migraines. How did she figure that out though? Because I don't see auras and I don't get throbbing headaches, which is what migraines are generally described as. I do tend to get them on one side, usually this side, sometimes the other side, but usually this side. I don't know if them changing sides is like a sign that it might not be a migraine, but anyway, I do get them here sometimes, and I think what tipped her over the edge was just me describing, hey, I've tried Panadol, I've tried Nurofen, nothing works. And then she's like, oh, maybe it is a migraine after all, having ruled out the migraines the previous time I saw her. I can't remember what her previous theories are, but migraines. So she gave me Maxalt. I don't remember if I've shown you that. I did take it, like, I think the first time I took it, I was a little bit late, didn't help that much. Then a subsequent time that I took it, it did seem to help. But it made me really tired, and I had to, like, you know, I was out of action either way. I guess being out of action without a headache is better than being out of action with a headache and nausea. But yeah, not the greatest thing. And then I think I didn't have any for maybe a month. And then all of a sudden I had one that was bad enough that, like, it happened in the middle of the night. I think the previous night I had not slept well, and it just didn't click for me that the not sleeping might have been an issue. I think also not sleeping made me dehydrated, because when you don't sleep, sometimes that can interfere with vasopressin. This is my theory, not her theory. Sometimes not sleeping can interfere with vasopressin, you know, in your brain, which tells your body to absorb fluids, and that, like, you know, and so then the following night, if I was not enough sleep, dehydrated, I think at 1:30 in the morning I woke up and I had the headache, and, you know, I'm out of it, I'm like, I'm tired, it's probably just insomnia, went back to sleep, you know. And each time I wake up, I generally go to the bathroom, because I just have this mental thing where I have to pee before I go to bed. Even if there's nothing in me, I just have to make the show of going to the bathroom. So, you know, I peed, it was a decent pee. Come back at 2:30, and I promise there's a point to the TMI. I wake up again at 2:30, go to pee again, and it was also a decent pee, and that's only an hour apart. And so that's when I started looking up, you know, insomnia and vasopressin. Not right then at 2:30 in the morning, but later, because I just got this idea that, hang on, that's a bit weird doing two decent pees an hour apart. But more importantly, at 2:30, I realized the headache was not going away, and so I took the migraine medication, was able to sleep, woke up at 4 something, had to go and pee again, and again, another decent pee, and that's when I'm like, that is a lot of pee for one night. Yeah, so, but also, apparently migraines can also affect your body's ability to absorb fluids or retain fluids. So was it the insomnia? Maybe it was the insomnia that caused the initial dehydration, but then the migraine causes more dehydration because everything is screwed up in your brain. Anyway, so then I had taken that at 2:30 in the morning. Then when I woke up, 2:30, 4:30, and then when I woke up for real and actually dragged myself out of bed, at first I seemed okay, but the headache came back, so I think I took another of the migraine medication. I'm talking about rescue medication. This is not preventative. It only works like when you actually have the headache, and that sorted me out. But I was feeling really dizzy that day, and I had to let my band know that, hey, I'm having this really bad migraine and I'm super dizzy and I'm a little bit worried I'm not going to make it. And then I think I tried to get through most of the next day without taking the medications because I thought if I'm dizzy, I can't drive. And I thought by the end of the first day that the migraine was getting less. But then I woke up the next day and it's still migraine city. And then towards the end of the day, I just had to give up, take the migraine meds, and let Band know that I wasn't going to make it. So that sucked. Went back to my doctor and she's like, okay, you've taken the migraine meds 3 times for the same migraine attack. Now, you don't take these rescue medication. I don't have one on me. But so with the rescue medication, the idea is you have the headache, you take one, it resolves the headache. And then the headache comes back, you can take another one. But you don't take 2 for the same headache. You have to wait for it to resolve and then come back before you take it. And so I took it 3 times for the same migraine attack, but not the same headache, if that makes sense. I had 3 separate rounds of headache within that migraine attack. Yeah, so I mentioned that to her, and she's like, okay. And I told her, like, you know, my mental health is better right now, but this is just screwing up my ability to do anything, and my mental health will go downhill if I'm constantly having to worry about physical health ruining everything. So she gave me a different rescue medication to try, which I have not tried yet. I've been very careful. And then she also gave me, propranolol. And propranolol is supposed to be a preventative medication. So now I've got a preventative and 2 different rescues. I started the preventative, so propranolol, she said, because I have this huge history of reacting badly to medication, mainly antidepressants, but basically anything that can affect the brain. And propranolol is a beta blocker, I don't care how you pronounce it. It's a beta blocker, and I think it's sometimes used for anxiety. I don't have anxiety, but, you know, that's a thing. Anyway, in my case, I'm taking it to prevent migraines. And just the fact that it can work on things like anxiety, it just makes me think, oh, hopefully this doesn't affect me the way that the antidepressants did. So, with my sensitivities in mind, we're just starting on the lowest dose and only taking it at night, and then after a week, I was supposed to start taking it in the morning as well, morning and night. The catch with this medication, okay, first of all, it's a preventative, and so I did get I did get what I thought was a migraine while having it, and so I didn't try the new rescue medication. I tried the old rescue medication because I thought if I have a bad reaction to the propranolol, I need to know that that's what it is, so I will take the regular rescue medication because I already know how I react to that. Whereas if I took the new rescue medication at the same time as the propranolol, I wouldn't know which one was giving me bad side effects if they developed. Okay, so side effects, waiting to see if that happens, but there are some more known risks with propranolol that are beyond just side effects. Like with most medications, they have a list of side effects, but not everyone gets all of them. They're not like, you know, it's just like bad luck if you get them. But with propranolol, a couple of things that it's known to do, I think in most cases, and is sometimes used to treat people who have these issues. But so propranolol can reduce your blood pressure and it can reduce your heart rate. So if you had high blood pressure, it's fine. If you have a fast heart rate and needs to come down, I don't know, maybe it's used for that. I'm not a doctor, but you know. The trouble for me, okay, on the blood pressure issue, I have pretty much always had low blood pressure. To the point that, I mean, I don't know for sure if this is why it happens, but I think the low blood pressure is the reason if I stand up too fast. Sometimes I will feel faint and, you know, my vision can go a bit dark and it's not good. Now, that's a bit more to do with positional blood pressure issues, but you get the idea. My blood pressure is low enough that that can happen to me sometimes. And so going on this, we checked my blood pressure, and I was shocked because that day, my blood pressure was almost perfect. 120 over 80, I think, is perfect, and it was almost that, whereas usually I'm closer to 90 over 60, which is like the lowest healthy that there ever is. Anyway, so having that reading in the in my doctor's office, she's like, yeah, okay, if that's your reading, like, that's a surprise, but I feel safe about giving this to you, but you should monitor your blood pressure, and I have stolen Dad's old machine since he's not using it at the moment, and I've been doing a lot of checks, multiple times a day just to monitor things. That's on her advice, and it's also kind of interesting. But I realized later my blood pressure was probably better that day because I had been rushing to get there, because I had left it a little bit late, and then they called me when I was almost there. They had told me to come late, and then I'd left it a little bit later, and then they said, oh no, actually she's caught up, and so I'm like rushing to get there. It was fine, but basically I'd been doing a bit more brisk exercise than normal, and so I think that's why my blood pressure was up, because I have noticed when I've been walking around and doing all that, blood pressure goes up when you're sitting down, like, resting and standing blood pressure. It's pretty obvious. But my blood pressure was still up when I was sitting in her office. And since then, I wish I had been checking my blood pressure before I went on this stuff, just to get an idea of what is normal for me, apart from just what I've seen in the doctor's office and other times when I've been concerned. Because since I've been taking this, I've been checking it, and my blood pressure has been, occasionally it has shown readings below 90/60. Usually it's the lower number, which is that goes below 60, like 54 I think is the lowest I've seen. And she said to only focus on the top number. If the top number goes below 90, that's bad. Occasionally it has gone below 90. I think the lowest it got was 87. And so I'm like, is that because of this medication? Now, this is an old machine and I'm doing it myself, so it may not be 100% accurate. And I'm kind of like, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's just margin of error stuff. But because I've been getting those readings, it depends on the time of day. Sometimes it's higher, other times it's not. And because of the time that it's not, I decided I wasn't going to start taking the propranolol in the morning. I'm only taking it at night because I have band prac this week, and I don't want to screw that up by taking a higher dose and then I faint. I can't drive if I'm gonna. I don't know what will happen to me, and I thought, since I'm doing okay with taking it at night, I'll just keep taking it at night, and then I've got to follow up next week, and I'll tell her, hey, I don't know if this is safe to take. So yeah, that's like the main concern with this medication. The other concern with this medication, the lowering of the heart rate, I think I might have a higher resting heart rate. Like when I was talking to my wise godmother, she was telling me actually that's high, and she also has high. But if her husband had it as high as we've got it, he would feel anxious. And so, I don't know. High is just usual for me. So like I'm not too worried about my heart rate going too low. But what my doctor said to me is lowering the heart rate, it can help with people who have anxiety. But if you have depression, it can actually make you feel depressed. And I do have major depressive disorder. I'm not currently in a depressive episode, but if I took too much of this stuff, I don't know, it could trigger one if my heart rate, if that actually does something to me. I don't know. So that was a risk. Now, this is not the only medication that she could have given me. The other one that she suggested was actually an antidepressant. I think it's Endep, which is a tricyclic antidepressant. It's an older class of antidepressants. The thing is, I tried that almost 10 years ago when I went through that really bad, couple years of depression. I ended up with double depression. I've made a video about that. So I've already tried that, and the psychiatrist at the time, we tried very carefully the lowest dose, tried to ramp it up to a level that would work, and it didn't work out for me. The dry mouth sucked as a singer because you don't want your instrument to just dry up. But as we increased the dose, I started getting worse and worse stomach aches, and it just never went away. And I did manage to put on weight, and that's the first time in my life I managed to put on weight, and I didn't keep all of it, but I've managed to be a healthy weight since then, so it helped me in that sense. But I had to come off it, and so there's no point trying that antidepressant for the migraines. But And, one reason I agreed to even take the propranolol is because, it's for a physical health issue. So it's worth the risk. Like, if we were just going to prescribe me something for the mental health only, I don't think it would be worth the risk for me, because I've had so many bad experiences, but this is more for a physical issue. And I thought, well, I will give it a go, because my mental health sucks if I don't have the physical health, or it has a potential to suck if I don't have the physical health. But since I've already tried the NDEP, let's not go there again. Now, if this doesn't work, or if I can't stay on this medication, the next option, apparently, if I've tried those two medications, the NDEP and the propranolol, I might qualify to see a specialist, and maybe they'll have scanned my brain. I feel like I've already mentioned this at some point in another video. I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive. That might just be because I mentioned it in a live stream, in a gaming live stream. I don't even know. Maybe it was in one of the vertical live streams. Whatever. I'm sorry if you're hearing this again, because I don't remember. But yeah, I might be able to get my brain scanned, and maybe they'll find the little aliens in there and realize I am not human after all. But yeah, anyway, so I might be able to see a specialist, but we'll see how it goes. And the thing is, I think I actually worked out what caused my most recent migraine. And after that big migraine attack where I had to take the rescue medication 3 times before it finally settled down, after that, I was still getting lower level headaches. And, they weren't quite tipping over into full-on constant migraine, but they were like really uncomfortable, and I was feeling kind of unwell. And I had that the day that I saw my GP. But then when I started the propranolol, I still had it. There was no difference, came and went. And I thought maybe the propranolol was giving me the headaches. And, some people, when I look up on the internet, some people have had that experience. But then one day I forgot to take my probiotics. And that day I had a really good day. The headache was mostly gone, and I had more energy, and I was just doing well. So the next day I decided to forget my probiotics, and I have not taken them since then, and I've been feeling a lot better. Now, I can't confirm if this is the case, because I would have to take the probiotics again to know that that was what was causing those low-level headaches and potentially the migraine. But I'm not willing to do that because I don't want to miss another band prac. The thing is, so I started taking a different probiotic because I was having stomach issues about a month ago. And so that other probiotic, it was some kind of lactobacillus strain, and it was fine, it helped. But the trouble with it is, like, the capsules were quite big and it was really uncomfortable to swallow them. And if something is that tricky, like, I am not going to keep up the habit. So I thought, once I ran out, I'm like, I'll go and ask them, as I was almost running out, I'll go and ask the pharmacy if they have a smaller one. And so they gave me this stuff, which is Saccharomyces something. So like a completely different kind, a different class of probiotics. And like, it's their Bioceuticals brand, and the expensive stuff they have behind the counter, you don't need a prescription for or anything, but it's pricier than the regular stuff just on the shelves. And I've never had a good experience with Bioceuticals. I think, though, previously it was a different kind of probiotic I tried, and it was a powder, and it was really disgusting. At least this is capsules. And they were able to look up that it was slightly smaller than the other one, but it's completely different species. I don't know if I'm using the word species incorrectly, but you get what I mean. And so the first lot of probiotics were fine, but these ones were not. And so I tried to look up, why would this be? Why would this be causing an issue? Probiotics, that, our society's like, aren't they so great? And, a lot of Triton's products, they're like, well, it's got probiotics. And what I was able to find is probiotics can actually produce histamine, and some species, like actually most species, or most strains, or whatever you want to call them, most probiotics do cause histamine production. And I have nuclear grade hay fever. I do the Dymista spray in the morning. I do Nasonex at night. I've also got the kids' Dimetap, because that's the only oral one that I can take that won't make me depressed, as far as I know. I'm too scared to try some of the other ones. Claritine messed me up. Claritine made me depressed. So yeah. But yeah, so I have hay fever that's been getting worse as time has gone on. If I want to be petty, I could blame my ex because I didn't have hay fever until I moved out and lived with him for about 9 months. But like, it's in different location, different air. Sometimes apparently that can trigger it. Also, sometimes just aging can trigger hay fever, apparently. But yeah, since then, it's just like gradually gotten worse and worse and worse. And when COVID hit, and, everyone's worried about people sniffling, I thought, I don't want people to think I've got COVID, so I'll try and do something about my hay fever. Went through a whole lot of crap, and, that's how I found out about the Claritine making me depressed, and histamine's a neurotransmitter. Who knew? No one talks about this. No one talks about histamine as a neurotransmitter in the mainstream. It's always like, serotonin, dopamine. Anyway, so yeah, I tried to avoid having to use anything for a while, or just had the kids Dimetap, because, yeah, I react badly to a lot of stuff. And then eventually I had, like, this weird thing where my ears were super blocked, and I thought I was really sick, so I went to the doctor, different doctor to my usual, because she wasn't available, and that guy said, actually, it's hay fever, you're gonna have to use the nasal sprays, and just get used to them, and, the Dymista is an antihistamine and a steroid, the Nasonex is just a steroid. He said the Dymista. I ended up doing, like, you're supposed to use them twice a day or do 2 sprays a day in each nostril. I ended up doing the Nasonex at night because it's a little bit cheaper. I don't want to have to buy one every damn month. Yeah, so, it's kind of my regular doctor is aware. I've told her that I'm doing this, and she didn't think there was any problem with it. But I am using a lot of nasal sprays, plus the kids Dimetap, and sometimes I do take the full adult dose. They do have an adult dose. Sometimes I make it less, depending on how I'm doing. But yeah, with my hay fever being that bad, I can't afford to have anything else putting histamine into my system, and so I just realized these are not the probiotics for me. My stomach has settled for the most part, so I don't need them at the moment. I've just stopped taking them. I'm not taking any at all, apart from what I'm naturally getting from the environment or my diet. I don't know. But yeah, and so when I looked at my psych diary, I keep a diary for my psychologist, and I can't help but put extra detail in, like, from my vlogs that I try and cover everything a little bit too much. I try to summarize in my psych diaries, but inevitably too much goes in there. And I had listed when I started the new probiotic. And it was like a day or two before the migraine hit that I started this. And yeah, like that was... I now know if I'm going to try something new in the week that band prac is, I maybe shouldn't do it. Because, yeah, I had to miss it, and it really sucked because we were auditioning a bass player and I couldn't be there, and apparently it's a little bit hard for them to, stay in the right part of the song without my vocals there, and I just felt really bad about not going. But yeah, so I need to not try anything new in band prac week. But yeah, no, it lined up, and then me feeling better again lined up with not taking it anymore. I had the full migraine attack and then just low-level headaches. Maybe my body was trying to get used to it, but it just wasn't quite being okay. And yeah, so that was kind of an interesting thing to find out. So next week when I see my doctor, I'm going to tell her, like, I've been keeping notes in my phone. I've got a thing that tracks the blood pressure readings when I put them in. Most days I've done readings at least 3 different times of the day, and sometimes I've redone measurements, especially if it's been below 90, because I'm like, I just want to make sure that I'm okay. Because she did say I could stop if it goes below 90, but if it's only a little bit below, could be margin of error, so I've just kept it going, just in case. But yeah, no, I'm going to show her that. I'm going to be like, hey, my blood pressure has been going below 90, 60. I don't know, like, that's why I haven't been taking it in the morning. Is that the right thing to do? What should I do about it? But also, I'm going to tell her about the probiotics thing. And I have told her in the past that I think my hay fever, I think it's more of a problem than we're giving it credit, and I don't know that my use of the nasal sprays constantly is a good idea. Like even the nasal sprays, they say don't use this for more than however many months at a time without doctor's advice. And my doctor's advice has been it's fine. But I'm just worried. And the other thing is with the nasal sprays, so they have like a certain number of metered sprays. So like the measured sprays, and then after that, even if there's something left in there, you're not supposed to use it because it's like not measured properly, or it's not going to guarantee the right dose. And sometimes I have tried to stretch it out because it looks fine, but in that transition period between finishing one bottle of nasal spray and starting the next one, sometimes I've had headaches, so I'm starting to get a bit stricter. Like I'm keeping in my phone, in my diary, how many days, like writing down when do I need to check it, what's 60 days from now, and then I've been putting in more reminders because clearly the reminders I was using weren't working well. That transition period between a bottle getting dodgy and then starting the next bottle, I think I'm getting more headaches then. And I don't know, I'm a bit worried about, like, they're working, but is this something that I just need to do forever? And are we sure that I'm not just getting worse and worse? Because I didn't have these really bad migraines until this year. Like, I've probably always had some level of migraine. I don't even know if that's what they really are. Like, what if it's just some weird hay fever headache, and the reason that the Panadol and Nurofen didn't help is because it's the hay fever doing the headache and not any other process. Although sometimes the migraine medication seemed to work, sometimes it seemed to do nothing as well. It's so hard to know. And I wish like when I told her I changed my probiotic, I wish she had said something like, hey, that can actually make hay fever worse. Maybe that's not a good idea. No one said that. Pharmacists didn't say it. It's something that I had to look up on the internet, and then like everything's like, yeah, that's totally a thing that can happen. Like, why does no one tell me the things that are relevant, and then I have to work it out for myself? I'm not a doctor. Gosh, I'm not a pharmacist, but I don't know. And I think this is why people lose faith in the medical system, because you just aren't told about things like histamine being a neurotransmitter and probiotics mucking with your histamine as well. Frustrating stuff. But so I will tell her, I think I want to push a little bit harder to maybe review the whole hay fever situation. Like, is it my immune system doing something crazy? I did do some blood tests, and I think she did look at some immune markers, but nothing came back. The only thing that keeps coming back is inflammation. But that could be a hay fever thing, and no, I'm worried. I also asked her about endometriosis, because I was like, I've been on the pill for a long time. I'm on the pill back to back, but what if it's still been growing in the background? But she said that's not how it works. Like, once you're on the pill, it stops growing, and then when I hit menopause, it'll just shrivel up anyway. So even if I have endometriosis, it's being treated, it's probably not an issue. So I'm like, okay, good, because I don't want to have, the only way to confirm endometriosis is through surgery, and I don't want to have unnecessary surgery. So yeah, as far as I know, hay fever and migraines are my physical health problems. But I'm starting to think the migraines might be connected to the hay fever, and maybe I haven't been taken seriously enough on that. And maybe there's something else that we can do. I'm sure she'll say no and just keep doing what you're doing, but I'm just a little bit concerned about that. Anyway, at least I'm doing well enough to go to band prac. Now, I did say I would touch on mental health things. I have been doing better with my mental health lately. Not perfect, and I'm tired a lot, so I do have to have naps because I still am not getting enough sleep around here in this environment with morning people who are very noisy, and then me struggling to get to bed on time. That's why I've done some of those late night streams doing my night routine, because if I'm doing it for YouTube, then I have to focus on YouTube instead of getting lost in some rabbit hole online and, just suddenly it's midnight and I haven't even done my stretches. So yeah, but I'm still tired a lot, but then I have my nap and then I'm okay. Mental health though, earlier this year and last year, I was not coping well with the lack of sleep, but now I am. And I think the main thing that's changed, there's a few things. So I think music has been the biggest thing. So, I did that performance, and I talked in my latest gaming live stream, I did talk about some music gossip that I think may have triggered me into even organizing the gig at all. But since I did that gig, organizing the gig gave me a reason to practice. And so that got my brain a little bit more into music mode. But then since then, I've gone to a couple of gigs, and I've been to one with like a lot of industry people, local scene industry, women in metal, or women in heavy genres, and sort of like gotten a bit of the mindset back. Since then, because I got these migraines, I wasn't able to go to any more gigs because I've been working on my health. Thanks a lot, Probiotics. Although I was probably going to get a little bit tired anyway. I've got to be careful not to burn out. But I've been writing music. I finally finished a song that I started like a year ago. And I can pull it off in my death growls, and I came up with like was it a bridge or a pre-chorus or something that like fixed some of the issues that I was having with it. And previously when I was trying to write the lyrics, nothing was quite sounding right, and I think that's why it took me so long to come back around to it and actually finish off the song. But now that it's finished, and I did a run through for Patreon, my Patreon cult. Yeah, it's like $1 to get into the paid section of the cult. I keep forgetting to post free posts on Patreon because I don't know what else I'm going to say. Like, do I just copy my videos over there? You're probably already following me here. So, yeah, I don't know what to do with my free Patreon. But the paid Patreon, they've seen me do a run through of my vocals for the new song, because the death growl part, there's almost like a rap-like part to it, and I actually feel really good about my death growls because I've come such a long way. In the past, I didn't have enough breath, and I think what I was doing is what Aliki Catrio, a vocal coach, she describes as breath distortion, and having it described as that, I was able to learn, okay, the way I'm doing it, I am using too much breath, so I need to use more of the actual false chords, and since then I've been able to, be more efficient with my air, and now I can pull off these rap-like screamed vocals, and it's actually working. I'm like, shit, I thought I'd stagnated, but I've actually been making progress, like all through this depression. Sure, I haven't been on stage, I haven't been developing bands or anything, or my acts really, like COVID and losing hope and dealing with the new Floof. I didn't get much music done, but I was still practicing enough that I've seen progress in my vocal ability. So that's pretty cool. That's encouraging. The problem with that song is it's weird. There's a lot of experimental stuff. It changes tempo at the end, and like there's just it's too weird to release as a single. And I don't until I did that run through, I was like, I don't even know if I like this song. Now that I've done the run through, I'm like, actually, this is okay. And I even sent it off to this thing. There was like an electronic musicians workshop thing, and I sent that in as my demo. Because I don't know, I didn't have any ready, and I don't expect to get in. So I thought, it'll be fun, I'll just chuck that in. It's got Triton in the background doing his thing, and I didn't even realize at the time when I was filming. But yeah, just like, I like it more now, but I still don't know if I could release it as a single. So I started working on an A side, and then I'll make that the B side. The new song is coming together really fast, and Patreon has heard more of that and, the story behind it. And I'm just surprised at how fast it's coming together, and actually the lyrics are taking the longest. Generally for me, I've always been better at the lyrics. Like, I wasn't naturally good at music. I'm more of a mathematics science student back in the day. So trying to write the music would always be this horrible slog and wasn't really enjoyable. What I really wanted to get up to was the part where I write the vocals. But this time the music came together so fast. I think I've done like 3 sessions on it, and these sessions would be maximum 2 or 3 hours at a time because I've got, Floof to worry about and family chaos. And it's like, it's pretty much there. Like, I need to mix it, but the bones of it are there. And then now I'm like, wow, I only need to do the lyrics, and that's taking a bit longer. And then I think of lyrics in the shower and have to write them in the fog on the glass in the shower. And I need to get myself one of those waterproof notebooks. Apparently they exist. But yeah, like, it's coming together. And now I'm like, maybe I will write a whole concept EP, because I still don't know if this new song would work well as like an A side to a single A B side kind of thing, and then I have more ideas. And so the music is actually, there's a bit of momentum, and I've gotten into a better habit in the studio. So in the studio, like I would previously do just like art for a month and nothing else, and then, you know, maybe focus on the music for ages, like when I released Fade. But now I'm sort of trying to alternate it, so I'll try and set it up so I do one day of art and one day of music. Hasn't quite worked out that way, because sometimes, you know, I'll be more inspired one way or the other, or like with the art, like I'm waiting for paint to dry, so hey, I might as well go and do a bit of music or just take care of life admin. But I'm getting into a better habit of alternating between the art and music, and that I think helps my brain not get too bored with things, because it's really hard to hold on to anything. So alternating it seems to keep up the novelty a bit. But I think I'm also just in a better mood, and I don't know for sure what happened there. One thing I think helped also, like, I think it's mainly the music and just having a bit more momentum there, and maybe also like a bit of nostalgia. You know, when I was on antidepressants, my music life was really going pretty well. And, you know, then it started to falter once I came off the antidepressants. But maybe there's like a little bit of a sort of a memory thing tied to the emotions, like the music, I was doing well then. And so now my brain's like, we're doing music again, that must mean we're doing well. I don't know, maybe. But another thing is, so we've been, you know, I've been thinking of getting Triton a friend. And I told Mum that it would be her dog, which has gotten her on side. Like, she was skeptical at first, but when I said it was going to be her dog, I just sort of, even though she's trying not to show it, she's like, oh my God, my own dog. And then, you know, I've been gradually working on that. And there was a little bit of rockiness a while back, because we were meant to go to a thing, but I hadn't slept well, and then she had a go at me. And, you know, it was like this, why? I was doing fine until you had a go at me. But anyway, things since then patched it up a bit. I've gone and looked at things. I've talked to breeders. And then over time, Mum has gotten into this idea that she's getting her own dog. And I've told her what the breed's like, and we actually went and met a breeder who was very good. We were hoping to sign up for a litter due in August, but unfortunately after the ultrasound there was nothing there. By this time though, I mean, for ages Mum had been like, oh, I don't want one, I don't think I can handle training it, I don't think I can do all the things you've done with Triton to make him so well trained, blah blah blah, but my dog is going to be called Sky. So she already had a name for it. There's your name reveal. And then, you know, the day that we drove up to meet the breeder, she's in the car going, oh, now, don't criticize me because, you know, I've done something. I'm like, oh no, what's happened? And it turns out she's just bought car protectors, seat protectors for the car, because she's expecting to have her dog in her fancy new car. Whereas my car, who cares? We just put like a sheet down. It's a very old car. But she'd already bought them. And this is before, like, you know, and I told her, you know that the dog might not actually be pregnant. Like, they've got to pass the ultrasound first. And of course, the ultrasound showed nothing. So yeah, she got a little bit overexcited. She did buy one for me. It's floating around on the floor because I'm trying to get my smell into it so that Triton will feel better about it, because he does have a bit of car anxiety. And I also got him a new harness, and I might make a video about that. But anyway, so she got a little bit overexcited. But I think with this whole process, like, I've been talking her through it and like, what do you need to do, and talking about the breed, and like, I have now convinced her it's the right breed. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know, have I talked about the breed before? I might do a reveal later if I haven't. But yeah, and so like, she's really gotten into that, and then has been talking to me more, and I think it's helped us bond and repair some of the relationship a bit, and that has then led to less stress at home. And also, like, led to some conversations, because some of the concern that Mum had was, like, if anything happens to me, what's she going to do with these two dogs? She can't handle two dogs, or, you know, or just a lot of concern about that. And that gave me an opportunity to be like, yeah, fair enough. I mean, like with Triton, if anything happens to me and no one can look after him, his breeder will always take him back. That was really important for me to have, you know, the Finnish Lapland community are really full-on intense, like, they really care about their dogs, which is like an extra selling point. But yeah, so I'm not worried if anything happens to me. But she was thinking in the context of my mental health, if my mental health goes down. But that gave me an opportunity to also say to her, if anything happens to you, what do you think is going to happen to Mikey? Because realistically, Mikey's my disabled brother. Realistically, I'm not going to be able to do all his NDIS paperwork. Like, I'm having enough trouble keeping my own life together. And so since then, like, you know, I think both my parents have realized that that is something that needs to be worked on. Like, it's not just me being selfish, like I want to get rid of him and put him in a home. No. Both my parents are getting older now. They've got health issues. Anything could happen at any time. Like, it's that age. And I think they're now taking me seriously. Like, this is a concern. Like, yeah, okay, he's interruptive to my life. He's also interruptive to their lives. Plus, they are very concerned about, you know, once they're gone, who's going to look after him and look after him right? Because he used to go to respite care, and the reason he doesn't do that now is because he would come home with sores and clearly wasn't looked after as well as when he's here, and, you know, not as happy and whatever. But at some point, you know, they're not going to be able to look after him forever. And he has lived a lot longer than the doctors originally thought back when he was a baby. So, you know, he's probably going to hang around for quite a while unless something else happens. And yeah, just having my parents take that more seriously and them realizing that I'm actually looking at the practicalities. I'm not just being selfish and, you know, whatever. I'm actually looking like a few steps ahead. So yeah, it opened up that conversation and, you know, some of the relationships being repaired. Also had some other chats here and there. And so things with my family are going a bit better, which means less stress, and I think that is also helping my mental health. And then the music was the main thing, but I think that has helped a lot because, you know, less conflict. And then, you know, I've also done my own processing, and I've also been more inclined to stand up for myself and be like, no, I'm not taking that shit. You can't just call me selfish for every thing that is inconvenient to your worldview. Kind of, not exactly like that, but I've just been less willing to take crap or be silent about crap, and I think that's gradually made them be like, oh, okay, you might have a point on this thing. So yeah, there's less of that stress at home. Now, stress does pop up now and then because there have been a lot of changes around here. But overall, yeah, those are the things that I think have helped my mental health. I do have to be careful though, because like I do have a history of relapsing, and I've also got to be careful with the music stuff not to burn out. So like one of the ideas I had, a lot of people couldn't make my open mic, and I did promise them that I would do other shows, and they're like, yeah, let me know. Sometimes that's people being polite, but there are a few people who I didn't even think would remember me, and I've bumped into them, and they've been like super keen. Like some of the gigs that I went to that weren't my own gig, and people are like, oh, when are you getting back on stage? Like, you know, they remembered me, they gave a shit. I was not ready for that. So yeah, I think there are a fair few people who were genuinely interested in me doing a proper gig instead of just open mics. The trouble is, like, I don't know where to gig anymore. Like, all my contacts from 10 years ago, they're not a thing anymore, especially post-COVID. I don't know where to go. Plus, my solo stuff. Hey, I'm wearing this shirt. Hey! Yeah, shirts in my shop. You can buy them. This is from the Asexuality EP, but I know not everyone wants to wear asexuality on their chest, and I certainly don't want to wear that, so I changed it to Destroy America. Anyway, what was I saying with the music? Yeah, well, my current music is more electronic industrial. It does still have metal vocals, but I don't know if it's metal enough to really take to the metal community, or like maybe I only go with industrial metal bands, but I only know, like, I don't know a huge number who's still active. And then, yeah, I just don't know any industrial, really. Like, a lot of the industrial scene is just DJs. There's not a lot of people doing what I'm doing, which is kind of like the Nine Inch Nails songwriting style of industrial. So I don't really know where I fit. I'm not familiar with it. So how do I even find gigs? How do I find a community? Do I just stick with metal and be that one weird chick that doesn't have guitars? Anyway, so one way, like when I was doing Rainbow Death Ray, my old girl band, I figured out pretty quickly, like, the easiest way to get a gig is just to organize it yourself. And so I had been thinking, like, I could go to the place where I did the open mic and apply to organize my own gig and do that as a birthday thing, because my birthday's on a Saturday this year, and, yeah, it'd be kind of fun. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, that's a lot of organizing to do, and my health has been shit. Like, there's one reason to get on top of my health, because what if I went through all the stress of organizing and promoting a gig and whatever, and then I got one of these horrible migraines and wasn't able to even go to my own gig, you know? And I just realized also for my birthday, I don't think that's how I want to be spending my birthday, stressing over a gig that I had to organize. And so I've decided, like, you know, it's such a recipe for burnout. I'm just going to have to accept not gigging as much as I want. Like, I've applied to a few things, but they still tend to be the metal side, or like rock metal rather than electronic industrial metal type stuff. So I don't know when I'm going to get another gig, but I have set that limit for myself, is that I really shouldn't be organizing my own gigs, because I don't really know what I'm doing. I've never known what I was doing when I was organizing gigs. It's just that no one else would organize them. So if you want something done, do it yourself. Never mind if you want something done right. If you want something done at all, do it yourself. That's how I used to do things. And then we would get gigs, you know, after a few rounds of doing that. But yeah, I've just set a limit for myself. I'm not an event organizer. I am not going to do that. I don't enjoy it. I don't want the gig that badly that I'm going to go through that all again. I need to be very careful about burnout so that I don't screw up my mental health in that sense again. So, yeah, I have to be, like, even though I'm feeling better at the moment and I'm not currently in a depressive episode, I need to set limits for myself, because it's so easy for me to get carried away. Once I start doing things, I have a tendency, like, I have a bit of that perfectionist streak and I can overdo stuff. So I just have to set these hard limits. I am not an event organizer, because, yeah, even though I feel okay at the moment and some things are actually going well, like my music's actually going well in terms of the writing of it, even though things are looking positive, I can ruin that if I go too far. And this is one of the most frustrating things about my mental health, is sometimes I will be fine or seem fine, and then push it too far and collapse. It's not quite what people with bipolar go through, because they go completely wild, you know, spend all their money on some new venture. I don't go quite that far, but I do overdo things that, for my limits, I might as well be bipolar, if that makes sense. Like, I hit my limit in the same way that a bipolar person will completely screw up their life and hit their limit. I just hit my limit and then I get back into the depression. So I've got to be very careful about overexertion. Yeah. Did I have anything to say about schizoid stuff? Not really, but I think some of the themes that I'm writing about in my music might be relatable to some schizoids out there. So, yeah. I don't know if that makes you more interested or not. But yeah, so with my live streams, feel free to jump on and distract me in the chat for those gaming live streams, because yes, I'm gaming, but it's kind of a frustrating game with some issues in the development. Like, they clearly haven't gotten rid of some of the glitches, and then some of the choices they make are a bit odd, and I just get frustrated. And it's often more fun to have the chat going on the side in between, like when boring stuff, when I'm having to grind and whatever. And we did talk about some music stuff last time, and then what other times we've talked about. Oh, it really depends on who turns up in the chat, what I end up talking about. But yeah, that's why I'm a bit confused about what I've already told you, because I have done some of that in the gaming live streams, and then in the vertical live streams where I've said I'm just doing night stretches, what I put in the title doesn't cover all the things that are going on in some of those live streams. As I've said in the past, if you want to jump to the part in the live stream that you find interesting, go into the transcript and search up the keywords that you're interested in. Like, you know, I know a lot of people are into schizoid. You can type schizoid into, like, I don't know how to do it on a phone, but on your browser, on desktop, Control F, type in schizoid with the transcript open, jump to the point where it gets mentioned. Or, you know, other keywords, mental health, depression, music, kind of gossip stuff. I don't know, there's all kinds of stuff. That's one way you can navigate my live streams, because I know they're very long and a lot of, like, you might not be interested in the game or gaming in general, but yeah, fun stuff pops up in there at times, and stuff that I wouldn't really want to make a separate video, because, like, sometimes I'm conflicted about how much I want to share. And I can hide things in those gaming live streams, and I'm telling you now, in a regular video, But that's because we're like, what, 48 minutes in, and only the hardcore fans will still be here watching, whereas the people who I don't want to necessarily come across it, they're not going to get to this point. And it's the same thing with the gaming live streams. It's like the most hardcore who show up and ask questions that I'm more inclined to answer in that context. So there's a little... How do you find the secret content on this channel? It's definitely not in ant videos where I hide things in the middle of the video that you wouldn't find if you didn't watch them. I would never do something like that. I would never hide hidden messages in my ant videos. I should do more ant videos. I do have ants. I do have like a whole bunch of ant footage that I haven't edited together. Just like I've got a whole bunch of gothic unboxings that I'll probably never edit together. I need to get an editor. I need to win the lottery and just pay someone to fix it all for me. Anyway, and the gardening vlogs, they're never going to come out. Anyway, this has been a life update. I'll see you in the next whatever I produce.